recognizing our members, creating an impression that we've obviously lost, and just obviously trying to spark a very violent kind of, environment. And we then informed our disciplined members to hold back and await the outcome of the judgment. Now, as it pertains to the logo, yes, tomorrow again, ANC is going to attempt to pusillanimously, stop the controversies in terms of using the logo, in terms of, as it pertains to the infringement of the trademark. We believe tomorrow we'll be giving the ANC of Cyril Ramaphosa, those leaders that are there, a lesson in history of Umkhonto weSizwe, first and foremost, and most importantly, they differentiate between Umkhonto weSizwe as a military wing and Umkhonto weSizwe party.
Yeah, so does that mean that you have an alternative logo or not?
We don't have to have an alternative logo. We know what the outcome has been. We've been consistent even with the registration. We'll be consistent as it pertains to the logo.
Okay. A quick final one. Today, the list of candidates for political parties contesting the elections, including independent candidates, has been made public. Has the IEC spoken to the MK party about number one on your list, former President Jacob Zuma?
No.
Nothing of that sort has happened as yet?
No.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Nhlamulo Ndlela is the spokesperson for the MK party. We're also taking your voice notes on 0614-104107, and you can drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086-000-2032.
ES Tunis plan to disallow their visitors any breathing moment, but ASEC Mimosas remain extremely hungry for maximum points on the road. The North takes on the West. This is the first leg quarter-final battle of the CAF Champions League. Witness Africa's beautiful game. ES Tunis versus ASEC Mimosas on Saturday, 30 March at 11 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Fly better to your next holiday. Book your flights with Emirates to a holiday in Dubai, London, Istanbul, or Paris. Look forward to delicious regionally inspired cuisine. Enjoy free-flowing premium drinks and relax to your favorite movies on the way. Because it's not just about the destination, it's how you get there. This year, fly Emirates. Fly better.
There are new and exciting moves for the SABC2 familiar from the 4th of March. The life-changing game show Deal or No Deal with Katlego Mabuye will officially move to SABC2 weekdays at 6:30 p.m. It is where you belong.
Going beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear.
22 minutes after 3 o'clock, we move to this story next. So the United Nations Security Council has adopted a draft resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan in Gaza, leading to a sustainable ceasefire. The legally binding text also demands the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, while emphasizing the urgent need to expand the flow of humanitarian access to civilians in the entire Gaza Strip. Show and Bryce Peace reports that 14 countries voted in favor of the draft, while the United States abstained.
The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2728, 2024.
A U.S. abstention that allowed passage of the draft and a sense of relief as diplomats in the room broke out in spontaneous applause. An initiative of the elected 10 members of the Council, who are this month led by Mozambique. Maputo's envoy, Ambassador Pedro Comissário Afonso.
The situation in Gaza is a matter of grave concern to the entire international community. Indeed, the escalation of the conflict in the Gaza Strip and its catastrophic consequences are a clear threat to international peace and security. In this context, the E10 felt compelled to table this draft resolution before you. The 15 members of this council, individually and collectively, have a mandate under the Charter to work for the maintenance of international peace and security, and their actions impact the entire international community.
China and Russia vetoed a U.S. draft last week that determined the imperative of an immediate ceasefire in Gaza through supporting diplomatic efforts in the region on a new hostage for ceasefire deal, with Moscow and Beijing arguing it didn't go far enough. But growing discontent between the United States and Israel over its military conduct, coupled with growing international discontent with the civilian toll and suffering in Gaza, saw Washington's envoy, Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, abstain in Monday's vote, signaling that diplomatic efforts on a new hostage deal were close to a breakthrough, but just not quite there yet.
We're getting closer to a deal for an immediate ceasefire with the release of all hostages, but we're not there yet. Now let's be clear. A ceasefire could have come about months ago if Hamas had been willing to release hostages. Months ago. Instead, Hamas continues to stand in the way of peace, to throw up roadblocks, cower in tunnels beneath Gaza cities and behind under civilian infrastructure and hide among the civilian population. So today my ask to members of this council and to member states in every region of the world is this: speak out and demand unequivocally that Hamas accepts the deal on the table.
South Africa's chief diplomat, Minister Naledi Pandor, currently in Chicago, welcomed the adoption.
I think this is a welcome resolution, and now the ball is in the court of the Security Council because they'll be tested as to their ability to ensure adherence to the resolution. But on having agreed a resolution, having tabled it and passed by the majority of the members, this is certainly an encouraging step.
In a social media post, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called for the resolution to be implemented, warning that failure to do so would be unforgivable. I'm Shervin Bryce-Pease in New York.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
And as that resolution was taken, bombardment in Rafah actually continued. So meaning that the resolution isn't being implemented. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has also hit out at the United States, saying that this is a clear retreat from the United States based on the previous stance, at least when it comes to the war, and also saying that they're disappointed that the US didn't use their veto power, but the bombardment also still continues in Rafah. 0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
It is 27 minutes after 3 o'clock. We're in conversation next with Kofi Kwaku, who is an African analyst and senior research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. So congratulatory messages have started to pour in for Senegal's Bassirou Diomaye Faye after winning the country's hotly contested presidential election. Though the final results are yet to be announced, preliminary results show that Faye enjoys an unassailable lead against the ruling party's candidate Amadou Ba. It is also important to mention that Ba has already recognized Faye's election win and offered his congratulations. So what can we expect from the country's president-elect? Kofi Kwaku now joining us on the line. Kofi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Who is this 44-year-old tax practitioner? Who is it? Where did he come from?
Thank you very much. Long time, Aldrin. This is huge, huge news for many of us Africanists who are following this, but also Pan-Africanists. And I think his personality will probably matter a little bit longer because of his youth and then also the kind of ideology it comes with. He's part of a party called PASTEF in French. It's sort of a conglomerate group of people. In fact, the head of that party is called Ousmane Sonko, and Ousmane Sonko was the one who was supposed to be their candidate. But both of them were put in jail, and they were just released very recently. And Usman Sonko does have some kind of legal issues to deal with before he can be president. So at the heart of it, it's a group of young people led by this young man. He's quite young. I mean, I'm sure you've seen what's going on already, the attack on his polygamist life. 44 years old, also very an activist and somebody who's worked with if you remember, about 10 years ago or so, he was very much involved with Macky Sall as well. He worked with him very closely and did some very powerful legal work, but also political work. And at the heart of this party, one of the things we need to remember is there's a wave sweeping West Africa now, both in Mali with President Assimi Goïta, in Burkina Faso with Ibrahim Traoré, and of course with Niger with President General Chani. And you could see that kind of wave. In those three countries, the military have managed to make it. But in Senegal, I mean, what is really brilliant in Senegal is the switch and changeover to leadership has happened a lot more peaceful. I would say peaceful, but not with the military. In the other three, they happen also peacefully, but with the military. And it's a very, very interesting way to look at it. And their role is that they want their countries, and at least in Senegal, they want to really free themselves from the yoke of French colonial, if you want, hegemony, both on the CFA franc, that monetary institution that choking off African nations, but also on their own ideology to decide what they want their country to be, which partnership to choose, but also focus on the youth. And this is a big signal for the rest of Africa. But most important, finally, is also a message to South Africa. Young people are now saying we want to lead as well.
Kofi, thank you so much for your time. Kofi Kwaku, the Africa analyst. And by the way, 60% of the population in Senegal are under the age of 25. And the president-elect has also promised to introduce a new currency instead of that CFA franc, which is backed by the French Treasury. He says that they will change that currency and come up with a new currency. So there is a wind of change that is blowing through the West African region. 0614-104-107. A 44-year-old president on the African continent. I never thought I would live to see this particular day. A 44-year-old president on this continent, in a continent where we consistently speak about presidents for life who do not want to sit down, who do not want to relinquish power. And now this has happened. So congratulations to the people of Senegal. It's 2 minutes after 3:30, time for the news headlines.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. In your headlines, the Information Regulator of South Africa says it has received a complaint against the South African Revenue Service in relation to the disclosure of the former President Jacob Zuma's tax records. The regulator's chairperson, Advocate Pensi Tlakula, says assessments are underway following the complaint. Higher Education Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande says the decision to cancel the registrations of the educational institutions is because they failed to meet several requirements set out by the government. Addressing the media in Pretoria, Nzimande says the deregistrations were done in accordance with the 2016 regulations for the registration of the private higher education institutions and the applicable sections of the Higher Education Act. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the UN Security Council's adoption of the resolution which demands an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip during the month of Ramadan. President Ramaphosa says this is an opportunity for a permanent ceasefire and the resumption of negotiations. I'll have details on these and other stories at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The R24 westbound in Edenvale has a crash after Barbara Road exit. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary vehicle at Olifantsfontein Road. All lanes are open. And SKM Patleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Moot Street. In Mpumalanga, the N2 has a truck crash reported just north of Piet Retief, so you're asked to expect delays there. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle just before before Spaghetti Junction. The N3 in both directions has roadworks with traffic restrictions in that Cliffdale area. The N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has a crash just before New England Road, and Wandachele Road in Isipingo has protest action reported between Lotus Park and Kwamakuta. The road has been closed off to road users. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Krumbum Road exit. The N1 outbound has a stationary truck reported on Plattekloof Hill. Batengraaf Street outbound is slow moving towards the elevated freeway, and Voortrekker Road is slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Dumi Nkgapele.
And it's time for a sports update with Dumi. So some changes at Stormers.
Absolutely. A lot of changes at Stormers. But a very good afternoon to you, Aldrin, and our listeners. Let's start things off with rugby. There's a change of guard at the helm of Western Province Rugby. Johan Leroux has been appointed as Chief Executive Officer and John Dobson as the Director of Rugby. So Leroux will also be assisted by Season Administrator Rob Wagner, who's been brought in for an interim period to assist with operational aspects of the business, while Dobson's new position as Director of Rugby will not change his role within the senior team, but rather will see him play a more central role in contracting and the development of talent through the junior structures. In football, Bafana goalkeeper Ronan Williams says that the team has grown in stature and under the leadership of the head coach, therefore they don't see themselves as underdogs anymore. South Africa face Algeria tonight in an international friendly, and both sides will be using this game to prepare for the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. And as usual, SABC has you covered. You can catch that match on SABC 3 at 11 p.m. In tennis, Andy Murray says that he'll be out for an extended period. This is following an ankle injury that he sustained at the Miami Open. Murray received treatment following the incident late in the third set of his loss by Thomas Machak on Sunday, and he will now see a specialist to determine the next steps. Obviously, this comes as a great setback because the injury comes with just under 2 months out from the French Open, which takes place across the end of May and beginning of June, as well as 3 months out from Wimbledon in July. And a lot of people are asking themselves if he's going to retire soon because of that injury. Then ending things off with boxing news, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture Zizi Godwa is expected to announce the new process to be followed in appointing yet another new Boxing South Africa board. Now, the National Professional Boxing Promoters Association had taken Godwa, BSA and the new board to court in December, citing a lack of consultation before the board was appointed.
The minister's withdrawal of Part A of the court matter of the NPBA is not a means of saying that the case is closed, but rather the minister is going back to the drawing board to satisfy the concerns around that there being a lack of consultation regarding the appointment of the board. So there will be that process where to appoint a Boxing South Africa board, but that does not mean that the sport will be at a standstill again, because the accounting authority for Boxing South Africa was appointed in accordance to the Public Finance Management Act, and the accounting authority will be in place until a new board is constituted.
Well, with that said, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour for SAFM Sport. I'm Dumi Nkgapele.
Yanga have a massive mission to dish out orders in Dar es Salaam against 2016 champions. However, Masandawana believe in their ability to succeed anywhere on African soil. This is the first leg quarter-final encounter of the CAF Champions League. Witness Africa's beautiful game. Young Africans versus Mamelodi Sundowns on Saturday 30 March at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
And we will buy 500 cars, and we will buy 500 more. Just to be the one who buys your car, will come to you and offer more. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun-da-da-dun-da-dun-da-da-da-da. We buy cars, we buy cars. Da-da-dun.
We buy cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far. Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Afternoon, Andren. This is Magdalene from Bloom.
Liratodi, good afternoon.
Aldrin, how are you?
Let's hear from Tandisa joining us from Matlosana. Good afternoon.
Edwin, how are you?
Aldrin.
Who?
It's Aldrin.
Excuse me. My name is. My name is. My name is. My name is. My name is.
Aldrin Sampear.
Oh, okay, thank you, sir.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
My name is what? My name is who? My name is what? My name is who? My name is Aldrin Sampear.
My daughter is loving Aldrin Sampear. Enjoy your show, man.
Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
One of the first promos that we had on the show. One of the first promos that we've had on the show. Okay, so here it goes. Where do we start? Where do I start? So some of you may know and some not. But I think it's only the right thing to do that I shared with you on this platform. And that is, I have arrived at a decision to leave SAFM and Beyond the Headline, BTH. On Friday will be my last day on the show. It has been an incredible 3 years. Thank you so much for allowing me into your homes, into your private space, into your cars, into the office. Maybe there's somebody who was streaming from a toilet somewhere while listening to the conversations that we're having here on BTH. So I have decided to leave the station and to leave BTH because there's an opportunity that has come my way, and I will be focusing on that. And also, I want to go back to school as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. I remember back in 2021 when I started, it was very difficult starting off. I came with something that was different, I believe. I offered something that was different as a young person, which is something that I totally believed in, that I must be able to reflect my age while at the same time also be true to the content and to the platform that I am on, and also to the mandate of the station. And over the past 3 years, we have done incredibly well. We became the biggest talk radio station, which was a major feat for SAFM. The show has grown to become the biggest drive time talk radio show, and that is all because of you. What you have contributed towards the show and how we've managed to build the show to what it is today. To the producers, Ronald Temba, Kanya, Andisa, who's no longer here as well. Thank you guys so much for being the support structure that I needed as we took on this major task of changing the sound and the feel of the station. And it has worked tremendously well. I think we have achieved every goal that was set out. We've achieved our contractual obligations. And now it's time for me to move on to the guests who have agreed to be on the show to share their knowledge with us and to just make us better people and more knowledgeable as well about the country, about the continent, and about the world and its people. Don't forget the children. I love the children. I sometimes bump into people. I sometimes bump into people, and my highlights are always when they stop me to tell me about how much the children love the show. And this is a talk radio show that we're talking about. Ordinarily, it would be too heavy for children to listen to talk radio. But there are children that have come on and listen to the show, and sometimes the parents come and like give me their phones and say, like, just speak to my child, or there's a video call, or I remember bumping into one guy who then gave me his phone and said, please listen to this recording, and it was his son who was delivering what sounded like a voiceover, and at the end of the voiceover he goes, I'm Aldrin Sampear. Whew. Thank you for those moments. I really appreciate it. Do me?
I mean, you know what? I think, now you're going to make me cry. But that's the thing about having a genuine heart, and that's what you have. You know how innocent kids are, and they always tell the truth at all times. So one thing for sure is that you have a genuine heart. You're a good person, and we could feel it through the air. As much as I've only known you for 1 year, it feels like I've known you forever. But you are one talented individual who literally is what you get. Like whatever you give us, that is who you are, on air and off air.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to get to find people that are like that. And I'm forever grateful that I was able to meet someone like you. You did absolutely well. I'm very proud of you. And wherever you're going, a lot of people are asking on social media, where is he going? But I know that you're going to do so well. You're a hard worker. You're one of those people that literally are all about excellence. And I've learned a lot. I'm going to miss you so much, but I know that I'm definitely going to see you still. But the station is definitely going to miss you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your contributions to the show as well. And I'm enjoying your rise as well. And the risks that we keep on talking about and the risks that we take on the show as well. So thank you. Thank you to me. Really appreciate it.
Miss you.
To the technical guys behind the scenes, the guys who make sure that we sound amazing. Abo Phineas, siyabonga kakhulu. Abo Vusani, thank you so much, guys, to the contribution that you've made to building this show, to what it has become. Thank you. Thank you. For those who are wondering where I am going, unfortunately, this also marks the end of my radio journey. I will be completely off radio. So I guess the only conversations, opportunities that we'll have to have a chat is if you bump into me somewhere, that's when we can have a chat, because unfortunately television doesn't allow for that. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for believing in me. To management, to Kina, to Ujozi, to Tony, to Andile. Thank you for allowing us to make the risk that we've been making on the show. And there's actually a person, just forgot his name now, who once sent through a voice note and told us about that they'd just given birth. And they named the child after me. That for me was, because there's no need to do it. You don't need to do it. But there's somebody out there who named the child after me because of the work that we're doing on the show, and just because of the person, I guess, that I am. And I totally appreciate this. What this platform has done for me is that it has also given me access to the entire nation. And thank you. And I said to when I was telling management about leaving as well, and we're having the discussion, I was saying to them, which is also included in the statement that has now been released, that I definitely leave a better journalist and a better broadcaster because of your contributions. And now other people are going to be enjoying that talent that you have contributed towards molding. So thank you so much to all of the listeners. Thank you to the guests that have agreed to come onto the show, management, the technical producers, the guys behind the scenes, the producers, the researchers, the journalists, the reporters that we have on the show, that come on the show, and to all other newsrooms, actually, because sometimes we do lift some of your copies, and of course credit as well to those people. We are also about endorsing what is great. So thank you so much. My my final totsins is going to be on Friday.
Feel
So
free to bring chocolates, cakes, flowers, money, anything. Just bring it.
Just bring it. We're going to take your voice notes on 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086 000 2032. Whew, that was tough.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Aldrin. Gamo from Centurion.
Don't leave, please. Don't leave, Aldrin. We all love you. You're the reason they made this radio station.
Aldrin Sampear, you are literally breaking our hearts. My son and I listen to you in the afternoon. It is our bonding session, literally every single afternoon during the week. And for you to be saying that you are leaving, this is heartbreaking. This is shattering. What are we going to do without you, Aldrin? Our afternoons are never, ever, ever going to be the same. But nonetheless, we wish you all the best. We wish you all the best, Aldrin. You have served us so well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Good afternoon, Adrian and the team. I will miss you so much. It was nice hearing you on the radio. I'm going to hear in Hammersmith, KZN.
That's very sad news, Aldrin, but I remember your very first show.
Yeah.
And you were so shy, and also you kept on making mistakes, sort of pressing wrong buttons, and you were laughing, and everyone was laughing. And I still remember that show 3 years ago. All the very, very best.
Thank you,
We're
everyone.
going to miss you.
Thank you.
Those who love the beautiful game can never have enough of the incredible moments. Like the fascinating last-minute goals, the unbelievable saves, the top-of-the-range reviews of critical match scenarios by the legendary Mr. Ref, the mummies of the week, and highly knowledgeable analysts. Catch Soccer Zone on Mondays at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1 at 10 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
In a world driven by innovation, where progress knows no bounds, it's those who dare to dream, to push boundaries, who power our future. Join over 15,000 tech champions, visionaries, and trailblazers at Africa's largest tech event, exploring innovations across technology as we leverage tech for a more sustainable, connected tomorrow. Join us at Africa Tech Festival in Cape Town from November 11 to 14. Register your interest at africatechfestival.com.
The only talk radio afternoon drive show that makes sense. Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear, right here on SAFM.
It is now 8 minutes before 4 o'clock. We're in conversation next with the Statistician General of the country, Risenga Maluleka. So earlier today, Statistics South Africa released its quarterly employment statistics report. According to the latest report, between September and December last year, total employment in the country decreased by 1.8%, and this was largely due to several industries witnessing declines in full-time employment. We speak to Risenga Maluleka now on the show. SG, good afternoon, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good afternoon, Aldrin, and indeed, let me greet the listeners.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, SG. When we look at the unemployment stats, and once again, ordinarily in December, we'd see that there's an uptake in employment because of economic activity, and it is the festive season. What went wrong this time around?
Let us start off by saying that we measure employment and unemployment from two sides. One is the quarterly employment survey, which comes from the factory gate. So the employers give us the data, and then we collate it based on what they are saying. So the response comes from the employers, not from the households.
Okay.
Yet there is also the quarterly labor force survey, which we go to the households and we interview them, and the households say, I got this job, I was not employed at this time. But one thing that we are seeing in both the quarterly employment survey and the quarterly labor force survey is that the month of around the last quarter of the year, which is October, November, December, we have been shedding employment, and largely, and on both surveys, is when you look at the side of household spending, even from the side of GDP, households have been withholding spending. And if they withhold spending, largely in the areas of retail, you will not be able to have employment.
And then also looking at the type of industries that have contributed to this decrease, the following industry, looking at, for instance, the community service, construction, as well as business service and manufacturing as well.
Aldrin, let us start with community and social service, which includes government and indeed public institutions. Government has been cutting down on its budgets. And indeed, when there is cuts on budgets, it means even employment is affected. And this is what we have also seen on the side of the GDP and indeed on the side of your quarterly labor force survey. But let's come at construction again. Construction has been struggling for quite some time. It has been shedding jobs for quite a long time. For almost 2 years, it has been acting in a space that is struggling.
So that is construction. I don't know. Does this particular, the employment survey, look into the reasons why, for instance, when it comes to full-time employment, that we're seeing a decline? Does that have anything to do with the minimum wage, by any chance?
No, we don't ask reasons, but just let me conclude on the last part. Also manufacturing, one thing that we see is that energy-intensive manufacturing, so food manufacturing and woodworks, have not been affected much by load shedding. But if you look at heavy-duty manufacturing, more parts for vehicles and other energy-intensive manufacturing, it does get affected. But back to the question that you were asking now, whether we ask why things are like that, we don't ask because why we don't ask, even when we go to households, it's because most of the reasons that you may get at any given moment may be given on the hoof or can be speculative. And with official statistics, it would be very difficult because if we ask someone and they give us a reason, it's unlike when you go to households and say, why didn't you look for employment? They say, I was discouraged. Mm-hmm. But someone cannot readily say that it's because they can say we didn't have enough electricity, but other underlying causes they may not be able to deduce. And if they say it on the hoof, we might mislead the nation.
Okay. SG, just a final one, and this is not necessarily related to the employment quarterly survey that has come out, or the stats that have come out, but it is related to employment, and that is the statement that was issued earlier on today. Most migrants to South Africa come from SADC region for employment. And looking, for instance, at the unemployment rate amongst migrants, which stands at around the unemployment rate there. Where is this figure now? Okay, the figure I just lost the figure now. But mostly it would hover around 15.6%, which is lower than the national unemployment figure. Do we understand why that is the case?
Let me start off by saying that let us look at the number of migrants that come into South Africa. About 42% of 48 now as of census 2022 of all the migrants come from Zimbabwe. So almost half of the migrants that you see in the country come from Zimbabwe. About 28% from Mozambique, 8% from Malawi, and then you have countries like your United Kingdom falling way below. So the proximity that we have with other SADC countries makes it easier for migrants from the region. It's the same like in America. The highest number of migrants come from Mexico. The highest number of migrants that you see from Europe come from neighboring Eastern Europe. Western Europe, they come from Eastern Europe or North Africa. So it's always the case of geographic proximity. Having said that, it is easier for migrants to pick up employment even where employers will not adhere to a minimum level of pay, taking into account that some of the migrants tend to be unregulated.
Yeah. So SG, what does that then mean to the argument that has been made by some researchers that it is not true that when you have migrants that come from other countries, that those migrants are actually taking jobs from South Africans who would have ordinarily have been employed for those positions?
I can't say they take jobs because what happens is that when we measure from our side, and I can't say that myself.
Yeah.
When we measure, the statistician general is responsible for everyone who is within the borders of South Africa. And I'm not encouraging any lawlessness. However, every employee looks for, when they look for employment, they look for lesser barriers of entry. For example, our graduate unemployment in the country is the lowest of all groups of employment. And in this regard, being the lowest, what it means is that the barriers of entry are lowest. So for me as a statistician, I can't say someone is taking whose job. And I think even those jobs that are available, they are available for everyone who can take up employment.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Risenga Maluleke is the Statistician General of South Africa. 0614-104-107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. It's a minute after 4 o'clock. Time for the news.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Thank you, Aldrin. In your top stories, the information regulator confirms complaint against SARS over Zuma tax records. And Ramaphosa welcomes the temporary ceasefire in Gaza. This is SAFM News. A very good afternoon. I am Luyanda Maume. The information regulator of South Africa says it has received a complaint against the South African Revenue Service in relation to the disclosure of the former President Jacob Zuma's tax records. The regulator's chairperson, Advocate Pensi Tlakula, says assessments are underway following the complaint. The regulator's executive for the Promotion of Access to Information Act, Nsumbezeni Nemasisi, says this is the second complaint against SARS, but the first to be investigated. Nemasisi addressed the media in Johannesburg.
A complaint against SARS. This matter was received now in March. We anticipate that obviously it will finalize by May. But in terms of the question as to whether we had received a complaint from SARS before, yes, we did receive a complaint from SARS before.
Higher Education Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande says the decision to cancel the registrations of the educational institutions is because they fail to meet several requirements set out by the government. Damelin City Varsity, Isesa City Campus and Lyceum College are being shut down by the government after failing to submit their financial statements for 2021 and 2022. Addressing the media in Pretoria, Nzimande says the deregistration was done in accordance with the 2016 regulations for the registration of private higher education institutions and the applicable sections of the Higher Education Act.
These four institutions failed to comply with the following requirements of the Act and the regulations. Firstly, they failed to fulfill the requirements for registration as contemplated in Section 57(2)(b) of the Act. And secondly, they failed to discharge their responsibilities as required by Chapter 6 of the regulations. In particular, the EduCo institutions have failed to submit their annual financial statements and the tax clearance certificates for the 2021 and 2022 years.
Chairperson of Hospitality Umbrella Body FEDHASA in KwaZulu-Natal, Brett Tangay, says the tourism sector in the province is looking forward to a busy Easter long weekend. He says most establishments are 75% booked, with some even being fully booked. This comes after the tourism sector in the province has struggled to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and the devastating floods in 2022. Tangay elaborates.
And the bonus this weekend is that Durban is open for business. The waste issues, the municipal strikes, the water issues have all been resolved for the weekend. All the beaches at this stage are open. So it looks like a bumper weekend for KZN.
The National Assembly has approved the recommendations of a report on the penalties to be instituted against 11 members who failed to declare their interest. The report of the Joint Committee on Ethics and Members' Interest recommended a number of penalties. They include the docking of salary payments for a period of 30 days. Acting Speaker Lechisa Tsenudi reprimanded the members during a sitting of the House.
The Code of Ethical Conduct, Disclosure of Members' Interests, provides a set of values for members. Among other requirements, the Code obligates members to annually declare their financial interests in a public register. This allows the public to confirm that no member may have been exposed to a conflict of interest. You, honourable members, have failed to disclose your financial interests for 2023 in due time. It is apparent from the committee report that you were provided fair opportunity to present your records.
The affected members are Jerome Make, Colin Malachi, Mandla Mandela, Phumeza Mpushe, Xolani Msimango, Xola Nqola, Nokzola Tolashe, Alfred Tseki, Judith Chabalala, and Sibongile Zuma. And finally, President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the UN Security Council's adoption of the resolution which demands an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip during the month of Ramadan. President Ramaphosa says this is an opportunity for a permanent ceasefire and the resumption of negotiations. Ditabatsotes reports.
President Ramaphosa says that the world needs to stop the carnage and begin working a path to peace in the Middle East. He has called on the United Nations Security Council to ensure that there is compliance with the resolution, which is binding on the parties. The president says South Africa remains concerned that in over 5 months since the escalation of the conflict, thousands have lost their lives, including over 13,000 children. He says that there is an urgent need to expand the flow of humanitarian assistance and to reinforce the protection of civilians in the entire Gaza Strip. Ditabatsotezi, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Recapping your top story, the Information Regulator of South Africa says it has received a complaint against the South African Revenue Service in relation to the disclosure of former President Jacob Zuma's tax records. For SAFM News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 4:30.
In sports, Amajita's new squad shaping up, but there's a need for more camps and MCG to host Women's Ashes Test in 2025. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R21 southbound in Clayville has roadworks with traffic restrictions just before Olifantsfontein Road. Main Road northbound in Lowell has delays towards McGillivray Road. Brockfontein Road eastbound in Centurion has a crash at Olivenhout Avenue, and the N1 southbound in Pretoria has a stationary vehicle near Atterbury Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash before Spaghetti Junction. The M4 southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway. The N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has a stationary truck just before New England Road, and Wanda Kyle Road in Isipingo has protest action reported between Lotus Park and Kwamakuta. The road has been closed off. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Kromboom Road exit. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards the M5 Kuberg interchange. And Batencross Street inbound in the CBD has a crash reported just before Helen Suzman Boulevard. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Those who love the beautiful game can never have enough of the incredible moments. Like the fascinating last-minute goals, the unbelievable saves, the top-of-the-range reviews of critical match scenarios by the legendary Mr. Ref, the mummies of the week. and highly knowledgeable analysts. Catch Soccer Zone on Mondays at 8 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1 at 10 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Gautrain is for the legends who make moves to save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield. It's for the bozzers who switch off the geyser when no one's home. And for our clever who get that there's food at home means exactly that. So when it comes to travel, make moves that save and pay from as little as 40 Rand from Sandton to Rhodesfield Station. Gautrain, for people on the move.
Attention filmmakers, are you ready? It's time to showcase the vibrant tapestry of KwaZulu-Natal's cultural heritage at the Simon Mabunu Sabela KZN Film and Television Awards, South Africa's ultimate celebration of cinematic excellence. In partnership with the SABC and KZN EDTEA, we champion innovation, paving the way for the future of cinema. This year we go beyond imagination. Edit your 1-minute submissions because call for entries is now open until the 28th of March 2024. For more information, visit www.kznfilms.co.za or follow us on social media platforms. Join the conversation using the hashtag SSA24. KZN Film, our kingdom is your stage.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10 past 4. 10 past 4.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Indeed, it is 10 past 4, and coming up on the show, we'll be in conversation with Siviwe Kwarube, who is the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance in Parliament, and this is following the decision by the acting National Assembly Speaker to accept the request that has been made by the Democratic Alliance for a motion of no confidence in the National Assembly Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, amid the corruption allegations that she's facing, and as the NPA has indicated on the 10th of March already, they had communicated their decision to actually prosecute the National Assembly Speaker, who's currently on special leave. So we'll be speaking about that. And then at around 20 past 4, we speak to Ari Katz, who's the CEO of Boston City Campus, just to try and look into the administrative responsibilities and compliance that is required from private institutions, education institutions. Remember, we carried the story actually about some of the colleges under EduCore that have been deregistered, Damlin as well as Ikesa City Campus and Lyceum Campus that have been deregistered, and City Varsity. So we'll be speaking about that following that press briefing by the Minister of Higher Education a bit earlier on today. Remember, we're taking your voice notes on 0614-104-107, X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
Hello, Adrian. I'm worried, very much so. This issue of Lyceum College and other colleges, I registered for Lyceum College. I'm doing my final year this year.
Oof.
I have to write the exams now in May. I've done with all the assignments. I'm just waiting for the timetable for the exams. Now that they are deregistered, what is going to happen now? Can you just find out for us what is the way forward? Are we going to complete for this year, or what is happening? Thank you.
Hello, Aldrin Sampear. Halala. In Xhosa we say amaqhinga kafix. You see, when everything Fikile touches. You see, he lost today because it shows that the ANC is always late in everything that it does. It is late in service delivery. It is late in load shedding. It is late in water shedding. It is late in unemployment crisis. It is late in education. It is late in everything. They are always late. They even submitted the document late. Everything there, which was which lost them. It is about punctuality. Punctuality.
Actually.
Are gone.
Actually, you make that's a good observation, because remember that with the 2021 elections as well, it was about the ANC being late to submit the names of its candidates as well, and there was that attempt to go to the electoral court to have an amendment to the timetable. But anyway, that's not the story that we're focusing on today.
Going beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear.
In conversation next with Siviwe Kwarube, who is a Member of Parliament and the Chief Whip for the Democratic Alliance, a motion of no confidence tabled against the Speaker of the National Assembly, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, has been approved. The motion was tabled by the Democratic Alliance under Rule 28 of the National Assembly rules last week. Acting Speaker Lichisa Tsenodi will consult with the African National Congress Chief Whip, Phemi Majodina, to tell us more about the upcoming motion. We speak to Siviwe Kwarube. Siviwe, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Your reaction to the decision that has been taken by the acting speaker, but also how will this work, considering that Parliament would be taking recess? I think, is it now on Thursday?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Aldrin, and to the listeners of SAFM. Thank you very much for having me. Yes, so firstly, I think, look, we welcome the decision by the acting speaker to grant the motion of no confidence. Of course, the rules of the National Assembly state quite explicitly that a motion to remove a speaker or a deputy speaker needs to be considered urgently. And so there's absolutely no reason why this motion cannot be heard this week or latest next week, because you'll recall, Aldrin, that while Parliament may be going into a constituency period from Thursday, but Parliament remains competent to fulfill its functions until May. And that is when officially the term of office for the 6th Parliament will end. And so there's absolutely no reason why we cannot consider such a motion. And one may ask, why don't we leave the matter to be, because the Speaker is simply not coming back? What is important here, Aldrin, is accountability. And we can't simply say, because there's an expiration of a term, that somehow we must now leave these things be. We're of the view that the Speaker is not suited to hold the current position that she is in. The allegations she is facing, 12 counts of corruption and money laundering, just render her entirely incapable and unsuited to be in the role of high office.
So the other thing about this is, we know, at least from the NPA side, that they've made it clear that on the 10th of March already, from the answering affidavit in the High Court, that a decision had been taken to prosecute the National Assembly Speaker. The ANC has the step aside rule. So once the charges have been inferred on her, that then means that the step aside resolution of the ANC then kicks in. Would that then undercut this particular process? And as you say, that this is about accountability. What happens if the Speaker then decides to resign even before that motion?
So if the Speaker, look, I mean, that was the initial first prize, right, Aldrin, because I would have assumed that the Speaker, understanding the requirements of her position as the leader of the legislature, would have in fact taken the decision to resign, considering her that she's facing these allegations. But the reason why it's also important to separate the Speaker from the motion of no confidence and her role in Parliament and her legal troubles is because she continues to use parliamentary resources to fight this matter. Parliament is the one that is continuously communicating. We're not sure who is footing the bill for her legal bills. So if she decides to resign before the motion is considered, that's fine. But there is a matter before the Ethics Committee, which the Ethics Committee chair has in effect committed that they will make sure that that matter is dealt with before we rise for the end of the term. We've reported this to the Ethics Committee because, again, it requires, these are two different processes. The motion of no confidence is one, and the Ethics Committee is an investigation into whether or not she broke her executive ethics code. So that is continuing. And, of course, the law enforcement process is ongoing on its own. And so we will pursue accountability, Aldrin. And if the motion does come and serve before Parliament and the ANC chooses to defend the Speaker, then they must be the ones that go and explain to South Africans why it is that they continue to shield implicated members in members and politicians from accountability.
Does it become moot? This is now the complaint before the Ethics Committee if she resigns?
No, the Ethics Committee complaint does not become moot because if she resigns, she would have been resigning as the Speaker and she would remain a member of Parliament. And so it will not become moot. It will only become moot in the new term, in the 7th Parliament. And that's why the Ethics Committee must finish its work now.
Mm-hmm. So what I was also saying about that step-aside resolution of the ANC would mean that she'd also need to relinquish her membership of Parliament, isn't it?
I'm assuming so. I mean, the step aside, the rule is unclear to us. I mean,
okay. Let me ask it this way then. If she decides to resign as a member of Parliament as well, does the matter before the Ethics Committee become moot?
No. So if she resigns as a member of Parliament, the only time the Ethics Committee complaint becomes moot or expires is at the end of the term. So it would still need to come to its logical conclusion. And one may say, look, I mean, it's now moot because what kind of punishment can you inflict on someone who's no longer a member of Parliament? But I think it's important for the record and it's important for the Ethics Committee to make a finding regardless of whether or not she decides to vacate her seat.
Yeah, because the other thing about that is that we're speaking here about the Secretary of Parliament, an increase in his salary of around, I think it was 70%. It means that while the Speaker may have taken the final decision, there were other people that were involved in, based on your case, in something that was unlawful. So how do those people then get held accountable? But is there a possibility of rescinding that particular decision? Is it legally permissible?
Look, I mean, that's the first prize for us when it comes to the issue around the salary of the Secretary to Parliament. The first prize is rescinding the decision because our view is that it is irrational and it's not based on precedents. And it's unclear to us on what basis the Speaker and the Chairperson of the NCLP gave the STP a salary hike of 70% when he had only been in the job for less than 3 months. That makes absolutely no sense. It can't be performance-based. It's completely irrational. And the only other explanation is if the Speaker, when she stood up in Parliament and presented the appointment of the Secretary to Parliament, did so seeking to mislead the House in terms of how much the STP would be paid. And if that is the case, then the House took a decision on incomplete information and possibly a lie. And therefore, the House would need to remake that decision because we were laboring under the assumption that the STP would earn the salary that was advertised of 2.4 million rand. And never did we ever think that it would be hiked up to almost 5 million rand.
Thank you so much for your time. Sivyo Kwahupe is the Member of Parliament and also the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance. We're taking your voice notes on 0614-104107 and you can also drop in X at Aldrin Sampear. I have to say also the speed in which this decision was also taken to go ahead with this motion, it's extraordinary. And now some people are even arguing that perhaps maybe what is also playing out here is that the Speaker's hand is being forced. That it's either you resign because there is this motion of no confidence that may come against you. And if the motion is passed, it is the humiliation, of course, that she's trying to avoid, and the humiliation of being arrested, as that was articulated yesterday during the court case. And also from the ANC side as well, is once she's charged, the step-aside rule then applies. Which would mean that she would need to vacate her public office as the Speaker of the National Assembly. Which one is it going to be, do you think? 0614 104 107.
The Blues are looking for nothing but victory to cement a decent top half position.
Mudryk takes over. Mudryk's through. Mudryk round the goalkeeper. Oh, it's fantastic.
But the Clarets need full points to step out of the uncomfortable zone.
Come on, Jakob. Jakob Brun-Larsen scores. Perfect penalty. Keeper went the right way. Too much on it.
This is the Premier League. Witness the superb contest between Chelsea FC and Burnley FC on Saturday 30 March at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Did you know that government has set a minimum amount for employers to pay their employees and workers? In 2018, the National Minimum Wage Act 09 of 2018 was passed in South Africa. It makes it compulsory for all employers to pay employees and workers a minimum wage. In 2024, the national minimum wage for all workers, including domestics, farm and forestry workers, is 27 rands 58 cents per hour. The minimum wage for workers on the Expanded Public Works Program, EPWP, is 15 rands 16 cents. If your employer is not paying you the national minimum wage, please contact a labour inspector at a labour centre near you. The Department of Employment and Labour, working for you.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
25 minutes after 4 o'clock, in conversation next with Ari Katz, who is the CEO of Boston City Campus. Earlier today, the Department of Higher Education and Training held a press conference to address the cancellation of EduCore's registration. EduCore is a registered private higher education which houses 4 private institutions: City Varsity, Demlin, Ikesa City Campus and Lyceum College. Thousands of students and staff have complained about the poor quality of teaching and learning, and there have been allegations of corruption, lack of response for requests for refunds on students' accounts and non-payment of salaries. Just take a listen to what the minister had to say, and after that we speak to Ari Katz.
Now, concerns regarding students and the way forward. All stakeholders associated with these institutions are expressing some sort of concern for students. By the way, we are also as equally concerned as the department about the fate of students, whether in public or private institutions, including in these institutions. In this regard, the following must be noted. EduCore will be given a phase-out period in which to phase out students already in the pipeline. EduCore would have to reimburse students where it is due. The latest numbers of enrolled students as per the 2022 annual report is 13,096, not 50,000, as EduCore claims. One challenge for students is the transfer of credit, considering the recognition of prior learning and credit accumulation transfer policy. Another challenge could be students repeating some modules or paying extra fees. Now, let me come then to the conditions attached to the cancellation of registration, so that we don't get presented as government as this devil with 2 horns and a tail. And I wish to conclude by outlining the conditions and obligations that the decision to cancel their registration imposes on these 4 educational institutions. The cancellation of the registration of City Varsity will take immediate effect. As of the date of this letter, City Varsity must not enroll new students on any year of the program. City Varsity must phase out pipeline students by the 31st of December last year. That's what we told them already. City Varsity Limited must submit a teach-out plan which includes items items outlined below to both the department and the CHE within 2 weeks of the date of this letter. The teach-out plan must also include the number of learners in the pipeline and when learner records will be uploaded onto the National Learner Records database, which we have. The teach-out plan must indicate that returning students who did not complete the program within the stipulated time will not be admitted post 31st December 2023 and that they would need to complete their program at another institution. Student must be informed accordingly.
Well, that is the Minister of Higher Education there, Dr. Blade Nzimande. Ari Katz, listening into that, is the CEO of the Boston City Campus. Ari, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. What do you make of this decision to deregister these institutions? And also, it's all about the students at the end of the day.
Exactly. So let's maybe deal with both those issues. Firstly, let's talk about the generic scenario in terms of registration and accreditation, and then let's deal with maybe some practical advice for any students that have unfortunately maybe been caught in this tragedy. So just in terms of the framework, South Africa, funnily enough, has a very robust regulatory framework for tertiary institutions to gain accreditation and registration. And what I mean by that is that in South Africa, there's only one accreditation body, being the Council for Higher Education in the higher ed space. And then subsequent to that accreditation, one registers with the Department of Higher Education. And as part of that process, there are very stringent regulatory requirements which ensure corporate governance and standards. One of those standards is, in fact, submitting your annual audited financial statements, and through that, obviously, the department is able to evaluate the financial viability of the organization, and I think that is the issue that really unearthed the current situation with Educor, where they didn't actually submit the audited financial statement from what the press is reporting. But interestingly enough, the regulatory framework doesn't only focus on the audited financials. There is an entire list of conditions and criteria and reporting that takes place by the institution, which also ensures and quality assures the teaching and learning standards within the institution. So that's just the background to it. And clearly, that is what ultimately led to the deregistration of the Educor companies, because they obviously failed to comply with those stringent requirements by the department. So that's just the background to it. In terms of students, let's talk a little bit about what advice and practical advice we can give to students who might have been caught in this unfortunate debacle. So I guess the biggest question really is, I've been studying at an institution that's now deregistered, and what I do, I'm halfway through the qualification. So the good news is, so obviously it's distressing for the student, but the good news is that there are processes in place for an institution to migrate, for a student to migrate to another institution through what they call a credit accumulation process. The Minister did refer to it, the CAT process, as well as the recognition of prior learning. And so any student who is sitting with half their qualification and wants to now finish that at another institution, they need to gather as much evidence as possible that they've got to prove what they have achieved to date, so that when they present themselves for credit accumulation and recognition of prior learning, they're able to prove that I've actually achieved the following. And then the institution will have to articulate what they're presenting against the institution's own outcomes and credit and syllabi, etc., to determine what is capable of providing credit for or recognition of prior learning.
Okay, Ari, I really beg for your indulgence. We just quickly need to go to the news headlines. There's just a follow-up question that I have for you in terms of the transcripts for some of the pupils, because apparently some can't find some of these documents, which are quite crucial. That conversation will complete just after the news headlines.
Thank you, Aldrin. In your headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is endowed with rich, sustainable biodiversity that contributes to urban economies. He was speaking at the inaugural Biodiversity Economy and Investment Indaba hosted by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment in Boksburg, Gauteng this morning. The Information Regulator of South Africa says it has received a complaint against the South African Revenue Collection Services in relation to the disclosure of former President Jacob Zuma's tax records. The regulator's chairperson, Advocate Pensi Tlakula, says assessments are underway following the complaint. And AmaZulu Football Club have teamed up with an international non-profit organization, DKMS, in an effort to raise awareness about blood cancer and blood disorders. The initiative with AmaZulu aimed at educating people about cancer that comes after the passing of their club striker Bongintuli last year. Details on these and other stories at 5 with Mudupi Makhalimele for SAFM News. My name is Luyanda Maume and I'm out.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Sandton has a crash before Grayston Drive exit. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary truck just after Allendale Road exit. Brockfontein Road eastbound in Centurion has a crash at Willie Evenhout Post Avenue, and the N1 southbound in Pretoria has a stationary vehicle near Atterbury Road. In KZN, the M19 westbound in New Germany has a crash near the Otto Vorlek Road exit. The M4 southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway. The N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle near Umgeni, and Wanda Qele Road in Isipingo has protest action reported between Lotus Park and Kwamakuta. The road is closed. In Cape Town, the N7JX Hadville Drive southbound is queuing towards Voortrekker Road. Voortrekker Road eastbound is slow moving through Maitland. Victoria Road has roadworks with traffic restrictions through that Woodstock area, which is due to resurfacing works, and this will continue till the end of June. And Chapman's Peak Drive is closed due to rock falls. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Khapele.
In your sports this hour, the Stormers have recalled loose prop Leon Lyons to beef up their front row stocks in the build-up to a clash with Ulster at Cape Town Stadium on Saturday. The 25-year-old has been on loan at the Griquas since December, but links up with the Capetonians amid a crisis at Loosehead. The Stormers are already without Steve Stolle and Kwenzo Blows, while Ali Vermaak is out for the season. In football, Amajita head coach Raymond Mdaka says that they now are starting to see their team shaping up. The SA Under-20 side is currently at a training camp, and Mdaka says that the 46-man camp has given them enough time to assess the pool of talent that they can select from. This group is a mixture of exceptional talent in the Premier Soccer League, Reserve League, and also players from the Amajimbo squad who were at the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations last year.
We tried to check mostly the players who are playing in the DDC and the players that are playing in the PSL locally, those who are around, those who are regulars in their teams, before we could maybe go outside. But the most important thing was for us to put them together. To check, we had a group of about 46 players, and then what we wanted to check them closely to say who best qualifies in terms of representing the nation in the Under-20. Very, very exciting. It also assists in terms of the preparation because it makes it shorter because they are already playing. The fitness level is okay. Tactical awareness is also there. So it's only for us to put it on how we want them to play. So it makes it very, very easy with this kind of players. Look, we started only last week on Thursday. And, when people are arriving, always there will be challenges here and there. But we started properly on Friday. But where we are now, we could say we can have a team that can be able to play.
Then Declan Rice says that he's looking to captain England on his 50th appearance in tonight's friendly against Belgium at Wembley. The 25-year-old has become a key figure for the Three Lions since making his debut back in 2019. He takes the captain's armband with Harry Kane and Kyle Walker out injured.
Yeah, look, it's speechless, to be honest with you. I'm absolutely lost for words. I think when he said to me last night I was going to be captain, I gave him a hug, shook his hand and said, thank you very much. I owe him a lot since I've first come into the team. He's always made me feel at home. I've always felt so comfortable playing under him, and like I said, I've really grown in confidence. So on my 50th cap to walk out of Wembley front of my family, my friends. Yeah, it's an absolute honour. I think you can see it by my face. A bit speechless, to be honest with you.
On to cricket news, the test match in the 2025 Women's Ashes in Australia will be a day-night game at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It will return to a 4-day match after it was extended to 5 days during the 2023 series in England. The pink ball game, which starts on the 30th of January, will also end the multi-format series for the first time since it was introduced in 2015. The multi-format Ashes will also consist of 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20s, each worth 2 points, and the test is worth 4 points, while the ODIs will start the series from the 12th of January before the T20s begin on the 20th of Jan. Finally, in tennis, top seed Carlos Alcaraz powered into the 4th round of the Miami Open with a 6-2, 6-4 win over French veteran Gael Monfils at the Hard Rock Stadium. The 37-year-old Monfils was coping well with the power play of the talented Spaniard until he hurt his ankle in the 5th game. With that said, it's a wrap from my side. For SAFM Sport, I'm Dumin Kapele.
Blue and Gold Army are happy with their performance in the DStv Premiership, and they want to triumph against Gold and Black to stay in the top 5. However, Amakosi want to bring back Injabulo to the Kosi Nation. The Citizens battles it out with the Glamour Boys. Catch Mzansi's beautiful game, Cape Town City versus Kaizer Chiefs, on Saturday 30 March at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Has been more managers have been moving.
Apologies for that. We don't know what's playing there in the background. So it's time for a market update with Makwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Let's speak about EOH disappointing interims.
Yeah, very disappointing indeed, Adrian, and I don't know who authorized and allowed you to leave.
Well, negotiations, conversations, and then later...
I'm not going to release your pension. Not release.
Negotiations, conversations, and decisions have to be taken at the end of the day.
No, but all of the best, brother.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your contribution to the show as well. Really appreciate it, Makwe.
You are welcome. We know that EOH has been having problems, and they had a very challenging second half, when it comes to the full year of 2023. And this trend, unfortunately, continued through the first 3 months of 2024. And despite an improvement in trading and tendering activity in the second half, then unfortunately, that led to a reduction when it comes to revenue. Revenue was down 3%, but then their headline loss per share improved by 35%. It's still a loss. Previously it was 17 cents, now it's 11 cents. And following a successful 600 million capital raise last year and the recent closure of their last major legacy issue, EOH can now get back to business. And the guys have been holding into what they call scarce billable resources, and that was in anticipation of the turnaround. Even though they were not 100% productive, the guys that itself contributed to a very steep decline when it comes to operating profit, which fell by 93%. Hopefully that will pay off when things get to turn around. And as we're talking, the share price is down 2.6%.
And tell us about local and international market developments.
Stocks are caught up in a cautious trade before quarter end. Some of the reasons for the cautious trading is that the U.S. personal consumption expenditure will be released on Friday when markets are closed for Good Friday. And also the U.S. Central Bank Chair is due to speak on the very same day. So meaning we'll only be able to react to that on Tuesday. And sentiment is stretched and concern is growing about a disconnect between profit expectations and share prices. Hence, it will be hard to justify justify the lofty valuations if profit acceleration fails to materialize. And Nigeria raised their interest rates for the second time in a matter of weeks by 2%, that is to 24.75%. The guys are trying to fight the inflation, which is sitting at 31.7%, which was exacerbated by the collapse of their currency. Remember, it also impacted MTN profits, and our MPC decision is tomorrow. And oil was little changed after going up in the previous session, as traders took a more mixed view, that is towards the loss of Russian refinery capacity after the attacks, and also a slightly weaker US dollar offered some support. We see Brent crude is down 0.2% at $85-84, and the yellow metal firms on a weaker dollar. As we're talking, gold is up 0.5% at 2,182, platinum is up 0.1% at 903, the DAX is up 0.6%, CAC up 0.3%, FTSE is flat, the Dow just like S&P, they're up 0.1%, with the JSE up 0.3%. Our industrials are doing most of the heavy lifting, up 1%, financials up 0.1%, but our resources are down 0.6%. The rand unfortunately weakened 0.4%, trading at 18.96 to the US dollar, 23.92 to the pound, and 20.54 to the euro.
Thank you so much. That's Maukwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Maukwe Fund Managers. We're taking your calls on 086 000 2032 and your voice notes on 0614 104 107. But before we go to those, let's just quickly conclude the conversation with Eric Katz, who's the CEO of Boston City Campus.
Forthright and hard-hitting, Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Sometimes you'll think he's personal in approach. Well, the guy is just doing his job. # don't take it personal.
Okay, so we're continuing the conversation with Ari Katz, who is the CEO of Boston City Campus, and this is following the decision by the Higher Education Department to deregister 4 EduCore colleges, including Demlin, and this is for non-compliance, which amongst others also include that they must submit their financials as well as a population register of the students that they have. We speak to Ari Katz. Ari, I was asking just before we went to the news headlines, and thank you so much once again for your indulgence, is considering the tatters and the chaos that these institutions are in, what is it that students can then do to ensure that they have as many documents as possible that would be required if they go to other institutions?
Yeah, so there is a formal process called credit accumulation and transfer, which is a regulated process where students can transfer their credits from one institution to another, but they're obviously subject to a whole bunch of criteria. And the first issue is, from an institutional point of view, we would have to map the outcomes of the course that the student is arriving with. They're saying, I've completed Economics 1 at this institution, and I'd like to transfer that credit to Boston Economics 1. We would have to, number one, articulate the outcomes from that institution to our institution. So the first thing that the student needs to accumulate is proof of the official outcomes of the course that he or she has studied. That's number one. Okay, and that would probably be the easiest part of the process. The next step is they would have to have proof that they've actually passed or been successful in that particular course. Now, that's where it's going to get a little bit challenging, because if you listen to the minister's announcement, he spoke of various irregularities in terms of assessment of marking of exams, etc., etc. And so the institution is going to have to take a view on how it accepts the transcripts that are going to be presented by the individual. And therefore, in that light, I would advise any students to accumulate as much hardcore evidence. So, for example, even things like assessments that they've completed, exams that they've completed and been returned to them, etc., so that if their transcript is queried or questionable by the institution that they're approaching, that they're able to back it up and say, well, here's a copy of the assignments I did, here's a copy of the exam that I passed, etc. and it will actually have to be handled on a case-by-case basis. In our institution, obviously, it works through the registrar's office, and any student can pop into one of the 47 Boston City campus support centers, and they'll be guided through a formal process where that documentation is uploaded to the registrar, who will then obviously have to interrogate that data and determine whether credit can in fact be granted, or whether in fact the student might have to sit an exam. And that might very well happen for students who are waiting to write SUPs or repeating or deferred exams. They might find themselves in that situation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
There is help out there. There is help out there.
There is help out there.
The word of encouragement to students who have been unfortunately caught in this debacle is don't give up. Go to another institution, go to any one of the 47 Boston campuses and get help.
Yeah.
But if it's not Boston, go to any one of the institutions, and there are formal processes to help you.
Appreciate your time. Eric Katz is the CEO at the Boston City campus. 0614-104107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086-000-2032.
The Blues are looking for nothing but victory to cement a decent top half position.
Mudryk takes over. Mudryk's through. Mudryk round the goalkeeper. Oh, it's fantastic.
But the Clarets need 4 points to step out of the uncomfortable zone.
Come on, Jakob. Jakob Brun-Larsen scores. Perfect penalty. Keeper went the right way. Too much on it.
This is the Premier League. Witness the superb contest between Chelsea FC and Burnley FC on Saturday, 30 March at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Afternoon, Andrian. I mistook the member of parliament of the DA, Gwarumbe. I thought he was working he's a member of police or something, because every time he speaks about police and all that, charges and all that. In parliament, he's always saying motion of no confidence. And I've never seen her cutting a ribbon, giving some poor person or people a house or something. I'm not sure. Every time it's about just removing people from parliament, taking people to court. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Well, I guess it's the role of the opposition. I'm not too sure. I haven't been following all of the DA's programs. Maybe there's a place where she cut a ribbon, kissing babies. Because that's what politicians sometimes do for elections. But I'm not too sure. But Siviwe is part of the opposition. Of course, the Democratic Alliance is governing in the Western Cape, though, and several other municipalities. Errol is joining us from Durban. Good afternoon.
Steve, Aldrin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Great. This morning I was just about to speak to Stephen and ask him a question when my phone went dead. I don't know what happened. There wasn't no load shedding. But what I wanted to ask him, and maybe you can help me, now that America has adopted this stance of not vetoing the resolution, are they still going to supply arms and ammunition to Israel? Would you know that?
We don't know that. And here's the interesting thing about that also, Errol, is that while there has been this, the resolution that has been taken, the United States, according to their interpretation, and they're insisting on this, is that they believe that it's non-binding. So if we were to read anything into the non-binding and their interpretation into it, I think that they may just continue to supply the arms. Unless if there is a breakdown of the relationship. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was supposed to send a delegation to Washington, but following yesterday's decision and as he says, the disappointment in the United States not vetoing the resolution, that meeting will no longer take place. So let's wait and see what's going to happen.
Yeah, let's just wait and see. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Errol. Sorry, Errol?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Errol there from Durban, 0614-104-107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
FM listeners, good day. Now when the varsity campuses are deregistered, like Damelins and all those, so what's going to happen to the students that already registered at the beginning of the year? Are they going to get refunded? What's the alternative for them? So did the minister outline the alternatives that he's going to put for those students, because they just deregistered them, the institutions, but now what's going to happen to the students? Really, this is not nice. I feel for them.
Yeah,
and
I
their
think
parents as well.
Sure. Lehlohonolo, I think that voice note came in just before we spoke to Mr. Katz. So what you can do is go on to the SAFM website, look for the podcast, and look for the conversation with Errol Katz, and you will find the advice that he gives there. We just had that conversation with him.
No, I will miss that part, Aldrin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything in the afternoon. I have recently recruited my colleagues to your show, and they were enjoying it. Unfortunately, I heard from them this morning, earlier today, that you are leaving. And they are just so sad to see you go. They're probably listening now, and it's gonna be a very sad Friday. It's not gonna be a good Friday. No. This is Moresi Trisolda from Rustenburg.
Thank you, Moresi.
Aldrin Sampear, my brother, you know what? I learned most of my English from listening to you. You speak simple and clear English. You are my English teacher, even though I think I'm older than you. But if you have some door open for you somewhere, just explore the world, my bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss you a lot. I never miss your show. But anyway, good luck wherever you are going.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, somebody was saying something similar. Ayo on Twitter says that Aldrin, you know what? I'm not perfect in English, but your show, Benguguza. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. It was a bit difficult. It's a bit difficult to read all of that. But here's my take on it. Thank you so much for those. And I've always emphasized this. We are a broadcast medium. We must use language that is accessible. There is no need to use language that is difficult to understand for your audience, because then you just lose them along the way. Why don't you just use the type of language that you normally would converse in instead of the bombastic words? It's great that some people are educated and have that level of access to vocabulary and a depth of vocab. However, though, in this particular medium, I really believe that you should use language that is accessible, language that is being used at the home, so that as many people as possible are able to understand what the conversations are about. 0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
Going beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear.
Okay, it's now 4 minutes before 5 o'clock. We're in conversation with Werner van Geer, who's a Quicksilver Swimming Club at Durbanville, and also Jacques Kennermeyer, who's a Quicksilver Swimming Club, who's also from a Quicksilver Swimming Club at Durbanville. We hear from the two fathers who are planning to take part in a diving challenge as part of raising awareness against child abuse. This is a noble initiative, as it is public knowledge that thousands of children are often abused but are unable to report it. Through this initiative, the fathers are hoping to raise 30,000 Rand, which will benefit close to 100 children reporting sexual abuse within the Western Cape area. And Werner and Jacques are now joining us on the line. Werner, let's start off with you. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. How did you guys come up with this particular initiative, and what informed it?
Good afternoon. No, thank you for the opportunity. No, from my side, I don't know from Jacques, but from my side, it was something that just came about to say that, listen, I just want to have a swim from the island to Blouberg, and luckily we found out Sandra that swims with us, who's from the organisation, and she then said, but listen guys, why don't you do it for good cause? And she then started talking about the cause and everything. Listen, we all got rallied up and said, yeah, why not do it for good cause? So we said, from my side, I then said, yes, I'll put up my hand and let's try and see how many funds we can raise for these kids.
And Jacques, why did you put up your hand? Good afternoon.
Hi, yeah, I'm also a father of two, and just wanted to, apart from creating awareness around the topic and the issue, show my kids that with everything we do throughout the day, we can do more than just in our own lives. We can impact people around us and communities around us as well. So, yeah, just trying to be an example for my kids in doing this.
Yeah. So how is this big dive going to work? What is it that we should anticipate? Let's start off with you, Jacques.
So essentially, we're going to swim from Robben Island to Blouberg. And essentially, you have to swim from dry land to dry land, so it's about 7.4 kilometers, I think. And if the ocean's friendly and kind enough and none of the wildlife wants to cause some trouble, then
because that's my thing, Jacques.
That's what we're concerned about. Hopefully, it's going to take us about 3 hours to swim. Banner's quite fast, so he'll do it in just over 2 hours, probably.
Werner, where do you get the skill and the courage from?
No, I think it's knowing what's lurking behind it.
How do you know? How do you know?
No, we've seen pictures. We've seen pictures. No, I think that's what's encouraging us to make it faster. So no skill, no nothing. It's just knowing what's below.
Okay, Werner, have you ever done it before?
No, I haven't done anything like that before. I think I've the longest swim I've ever done before starting training now for this was 1.6 Ks, and this was quite a shock to see. 7.4 is quite a reach, but yeah, I think through the training and everything we prepared.
It's in the ocean.
We prepared. We think we can do it. Yeah.
And the water is cold.
No. Luckily, there are some madmen out there that actually does it without wetsuits, but we are taking it on with wetsuits this round. We'll see how we do it next year.
Jacques, have you informed your insurance company that you
I think they might know now after this interview.
Jacques and Werner, thank you so much for making time for us, and all the best. I hope that you're able to raise more than that 30,000, because, geez, that's quite a dare. That is quite a dare. Imagine that, hey? 7 kilometers. Thank you so much for your time. Werner van Geer, as well as Jacques Kennermeyer, who is, both of them actually from Quicksilver Swimming Club in Durbanville. Good luck to them. It is a good cause, of course. It is a good cause. 0614 104 107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. The type of things that people are willing to do for humanity.
The top stories at 5 o'clock. Ramaphosa attends the Biodiversity Indaba and a complaint laid against SARS over Zuma's tax records. A very good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is endowed with a rich, sustainable biodiversity that contributes to urban economies. He was speaking at the inaugural Biodiversity Economy and Investment Indaba in Boksburg on Gauteng's East Rand. On day 2 of the Indaba, Ramaphosa told the delegates that communities must benefit in a tangible manner when plant and animal species are harvested for commercial gain. He says currently, compensation in recognition of indigenous knowledge held by the communities is not enough.
As our mineral resources, we cannot simply be mere exporters of raw minerals. The days when we continue exporting stones, rocks, and dust and soil should now be over. We must beneficiate our minerals here. We're localizing more and more and insisting that those products that can easily be manufactured here should be manufactured here so that we can stop exporting jobs.
The information regulator says it has received a complaint against the Revenue Service in relation to the disclosure of former President Jacob Zuma's tax records. It says assessments are underway following the complaint. The regulators in Tsumbedzeni Nemasisi says this is the second complaint against SARS, but the first to be investigated. He addressed the media in Joburg.
A complaint against SARS. This matter was received now in March. We anticipate that obviously to finalize by May. But in terms of the question as to whether we had received a complaint from SARS before, yes, we did receive a complaint from SARS before.
Higher Education Minister Bladen Nzimande says institutions under the EduCore group are obligated to find alternative institutions for their students to complete their studies. He was speaking at a media briefing on the deregistration of the EduCore group of colleges and the implications of that decision. The department earlier announced that it cancelled the registrations of Damelin College, City Varsity, Lyceum colleges, and ISISA City Campus for failure to submit their annual financial certificates and their tax clearance certificates for the 2021-22 financial years. Nzimande says the department is willing to assist these institutions in their search for placements.
It is incumbent upon EduCore and its institutions to find alternative institutions for the students to complete their studies, either public or private. And by the way, we are a very generous department. We are also willing to assist on that score in the identification of relevant institutions where students can be able to complete.
Nzimande further outlined the conditions and obligations that these institutions need going forward.
B. Issue to each enrolled student a copy of his or her academic transcript as contemplated in Regulation 25. C. Reimburse or compensate any enrolled students who has a lawful claim on the institution as a consequence of its ceasing to operate from funds established as contemplated in Regulation 12.2.
Economists expect interest rates to remain unchanged ahead of the Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting on Thursday. This is due to the inflation's descent towards the 4.5% target over the past 2 months. In the previous meeting, Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago stressed that the MPC wants to see headline inflation trending towards the 4.5% midpoint of the target range in a compelling and consistent manner before considering rate cuts. Investec chief economist Annabel Bishop says South Africans may start to see interest rate cuts around September this year.
Besides higher interest rates, the South African Reserve Bank will also look at its GDP growth forecast at its MPC meeting, along with a range of other statistics as well. What's also important is what's happening in the United States, and the recent monetary policy meeting in the United States did not give any cause to expect an imminent interest rate cut either. So overall, South Africa looks set to continue to wait until September before we see our first 25 basis point cut, or that is 0.25%.
And Amazulu Football Club have teamed up with an international non-profit organization, DKMS, in an effort to raise awareness about blood cancer and blood disorders. The initiative with AmaZulu, aimed at educating people about cancer, comes after the passing of the club's striker Bongintuli last year. DKMS is an international NPO that fights against blood cancer and blood disorders. Here's the company's Palesa Mukumela.
Every 72 minutes, someone in South Africa is diagnosed with a blood cancer. As DKMS, we see a lot of patients who need a stem cell donation. This is only a fraction of patients because others are misdiagnosed or they just never make it to seeking treatment. We are working tirelessly to make sure that we have an ethnically diverse donor registry because a patient has a better chance of finding a matching stem cell donor from someone from within their own race.
The top story at 5 o'clock, President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is endowed with a rich, sustainable biodiversity that contributes to urban economies. Headlines at past for SAFM News. Kemudupi Makhalemele.
In your sports this hour, Bafana all set for Algeria. Cricket South Africa confirmed squads for 2024-25 season, and Stormers announced new leadership structure. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is queuing towards Crown Interchange. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary track after Allendale Road exit. Conrad Drive in Craighall has water repair works reported near Hillcrest Avenue, so you're asked to expect delays at peak times. In KZN, on Wanda Trele Road in Isipingo, there is protest action between Lotus Park and Kwamakuta. The road is closed. The M7 westbound is queuing at the Bel Air Wakesley Road junction. The N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and the M19 westbound in New Germany has a crash near the Otto-Folek Road exit. In Cape Town, Lisbeth Parkway southbound is queuing towards the N2 highway. The M3 Philip Hosana Drive outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards the M5 Kuburg interchange, and the N2 outbound has a crash reported at the M5 highway, and that's causing delays. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Good afternoon, this is your captain speaking with just a little flight information. We're flying at an altitude of 37,000 feet and our airspeed is 400 miles an hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BTH Airline. I'm your co-pilot, Aldrin Sampear, and I'm with you from 3 to 6, flying you through the turbulent airwaves. But the landing will be smooth.
So just sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the flight.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
The Masked Singer South Africa is coming to a mall near you. Join the fun from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. at Maponya Mall from the 21st until the 24th of March. Centurion Mall from the 28th up until the 31st of March. And Blue Route Mall, Cape Town from the 4th to the 7th of April. Meet the Masks, win awesome prizes, channel your inner megastar with Season 2 of The Masked Singer South Africa. Only on S3. Open up.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
0614-104-107. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear, and our studio line is 086-000-2032. So coming up in the next short while, we'll be in conversation with Michael Atkins, who's an independent election analyst. Your opportunity to inspect the list of candidates that have been nominated by political parties and independent candidates is now open. You now have the opportunity to go and inspect the list and also raise your objections with the IEC if you want to object to any of the candidates. We'll be speaking to Michael Atkins about the procedure around that, the importance of it, considering, of course, that we're heading into the elections, which will be taking place on the 29th of May. And then at 20 past 5, we speak to Richard Mamabulo, who's the National Spokesperson for the Police and Prison Civil Rights Union, POP Crew, that has rejected a 4.7% public wage increase that was announced by the Department of Public Service and Administration. Your voice notes on 0614-104-107, and you can drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. When we come back, we're in conversation with Michael Atkins.
This is Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Yeah, ANC. Aldrin, this is Mona in Cape Town. ANC. You know, when you shoot yourself in the foot, you don't see when you're pulling the trigger. You only see we only feel it when the pain hits the foot. I said it when they were defending Jacob Zuma left, right, and center through the many motions of no confidence against Jacob Zuma, and they were voting that Jacob Zuma did nothing wrong. What is Jacob Zuma is doing now? He's tearing the ANC apart. They were supposed to say enough is enough when Jacob Zuma was running ANC from that suburbs of the Guptas in Saxon World, in what you call Joburg. They were supposed to say, get out Jacob Zuma. Look now what the Jacob Zuma is doing to them. That guy is right. ANC is always late. Thank you so much. That's Mono in Cape Town.
Good day, Aldrin. Aldrin, you know what? Just that motion of no confidence is just a waste of time. Just a waste of time because these people, they are protecting each other. They are protecting each other. It's just going to be just a waste of time. They must just leave it, man. She's going to jump herself out of that parliament. They must just leave it because they are going to protect her. They're protecting each other by hook or crook. Thank you, Manzini.
Going beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear.
13 minutes after 5 o'clock. In conversation next with Michael Atkins, independent election analyst. So the Independent Electoral Commission has released the list of candidates who will stand for the national and provincial elections. Parties and independent candidates intending to contest the elections had until yesterday, 5 o'clock, to revise the list and inform the Commission if they had nominated candidates who also appeared on the list of another party who were nominated as who have been nominated as independent candidates. The IEC has disclosed that 42 candidates have appeared on more than one party list. To tell us more on this development, we speak to Michael Atkins. Michael, good evening. Thank you so much for making time for us. Let's start with the important process, looking at the electoral calendar, or the timetable rather, is looking at the candidates that have been nominated, that first process that has to deal with whether there is any duplication where a candidate can appear on more than one political party's list.
Correct, yes. It's actually not a new situation. It has happened. And as you indicated, the IEC announced last night that there were that number. They didn't indicate how many of those were corrected because it's up to the parties to decide what to do with their members when they discover on another party's list as well. You could obviously have the situation where both parties decide to remove the person from their list.
Would that mean that the party would need to be in consultation with the individual, or they just go ahead and make that final decision?
Well, it's actually up to the working of each party. Obviously, the sensible thing is for a party to talk to the individual and find out. There might be a good explanation. So normally it's better to hear the other side. But there would be nothing stopping the party from informing the IEC to remove it. And I can just say that on a very quick glimpse at the lists, I've seen 2 names that have survived that correction process that are duplicated between at least 2 parties.
And who are those?
I don't have the names in front of me, so I'd rather not say now. I'm just staring at the spreadsheet as we speak.
Okay. And then there's also this important process where the public now gets an opportunity to inspect the list and also decide on whether they want to object on any of the candidates that are on this list. Tell us about this particular process. The criteria has also been released yesterday in that statement that you're referring to. But I wonder, why isn't that process being done by the IEC itself before it goes public?
As members of the public, we know the people. Communities know the candidates. They know the people. And I sympathize with the IEC in that they can't spend and the time researching every single one of these candidates, whereas
the public process is a good one, that people look through, you might see a person and say, gosh, I know he's just come out of prison or whatever the case is. I've just had him declared insolvent or her declared insolvent. So this public process is actually a great accountability tool because it's not a closed shop and it doesn't allow candidates to hide things because anybody can look at this and anybody can put forward complaints.
And here's the part around it is that legislatively this is what needs to happen, this particular process, and of course the final decision that is then taken by the IEC based on what legislation is saying. But we've seen before that there are cracks in the system. Like for instance, remember the former mayor of the city of Tshwane, there was a judgment against him, but he still managed to become a member of the council and later on becoming mayor of the city of Tshwane.
Correct. Again, people are not all knowing, and because it is a public process, if there happens to be no complaint against a particular person, obviously the criteria for local government won't be quite the same as the National Assembly. But at any stage, there is this process now where we can object. The IEC itself can initiate an objection and make a decision. But let's say somebody who is not eligible does get elected to Parliament and sworn in. Because the Constitution is clear on the criteria, anybody could launch a court application thereafter to have a person, declared as to be an invalid member of Parliament, and they would be removed. Obviously, the process now is better because it's open, there's no costs. We can all just contribute the information that we have.
So what's the process that members of the public would need to follow then with regards to this inspection? And if they have an objection, how do they do that?
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen the IEC instructions for lodging a protest. We just know that the deadline is 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. If anyone wished to do it, they should contact their local IEC office. There is at least one in each municipality, or their provincial office, and IEC also has a national toll-free number that people can call to get advice. Obviously, the parties are familiar with the process. The parties are liaising with the IEC anyway, so they would have no problem. Members of the public must just phone the IEC and ask how they submit those objections.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Michael Atkins is an independent election analyst there on the release of the list of candidates that are contesting these upcoming elections through political parties as well as independent candidates. So you have the opportunity now to go and comment on the list of candidates or raise your objections. According to this timetable that I have in front of me here, today being the 26th of March, is that notice, inspection of list of candidates and accompanying documents, and then on Monday the then on Tuesday, Wednesday, this is the period in which list and candidates and accompanying documents will be open for inspection, and the cut-off date for objections is tomorrow, which is the 27th of March, as Michael has indicated, and then on Thursday, the 28th of March, is a cut-off date, commission decision on objections and notifications to objections, as well as contestants. And then on Tuesday is the cut-off date for appeals to the Electoral Court against the Commission's decision, re the objections to candidates. So it's quite a process that we are still going to be dealing with here. It's only on Friday, the 20th of April. On Friday, the 12th of April, rather, that the final decision will be taken. The certificates will then be issued to the candidates who have made it through this entire objection process and also through the appeals process. So on the 12th of April, that is when they will get their certificates for those who have met the minimum criteria. 0614-104107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. Our studio line is 086 000 2032.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha. Beyond the Headline with Aldrin Sampear on SAFM. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Aldrin Mara. Ifambela yini Mara Aldrin. Loko ko va na something lexi hi nga ku endlela ku xona hi ri vayingiseri va SAFM. Aldrin, please. Inga fambi. Hayi enjoy show ya wena. Se hata ku kuma kwini na. Mina 3 years nikini yingisela SAFM. Ni enjoyini vuhaxi bya wena swinene. Please Aldrin man. Kambe famba kahle kun'wana lomu ya kona. Loko tindlela ti ku pfulekerile hi ta ku misa, hi ta ku tsundzuka ka SAFM inkomu.
Nkenzile.
Hi Aldrin. Thank you very much for your show, and we learned a lot from you, brother, and the way you laugh, man. I'll just laugh by the way you laugh, and you'll make my day. Farewell, brother. Sharp, bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Lanesburg.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
0614-104-107, and you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. We're in conversation next with Richard Mamabulo, who's the national spokesperson for the Police and Prison Civil Rights Union. They are rejecting the 4.7% public wage increase that was announced by the Department of Public Service and Administration. The union has called the hike an insult to workers and does not account for the rise in the cost of living. The union is threatening to organize a march to Pretoria, where the list of demands will be handed over. To tell us more about the grievances, Richard Mamabulo joining us on the line. Richard, good afternoon. Thank you so much for making time for us. Why rejecting this 4.7% increase considering the state of the economy?
Good afternoon to you and the listeners. Remember, Aldrin, that we had said initially in 2022 or 2023 that we will not accept anything that is below the inflation rate. And as things stand, the inflation rate is standing at 5.6%. So this offer is actually below the inflation rate. But it's also in consideration of a 5-year period wherein wages have been frozen since before COVID-19. Also with regards to, remember there was an agreement which government had signed, the agreement in 2018, which they had then ultimately reneged on. So based on the relationship that we've been having with government at Bargaining Council, we do not trust that they've got the best interest of workers, considering that as much as economic conditions might be hard, workers have bore the brunt of COVID-19 and, of course, the high cost of living, which continues to affect all of them. So as a union, we have not come to terms with the fact that anything that is said by government will become realizable. And, of course, in 2022, again, we embarked on a march to the union building, wherein we listed our demands as a union organizing within the criminal justice cluster. Up to so far, there has not been any form of response. So since then, we have not said that we were abandoning our plans to march. And of course, things have actually become worse for workers. That is why we're saying that, we're a worker-led union. And of course, on the basis of whatever mandate our workers give us, we will definitely implement. So our members are not happy as things stand.
And I'm reminded now of a discussion that was had sometime last year, and this was in relation to the special task force, some of them resigning to go and work for private security companies, and we were told that we spend around 1.1 million rand on training the special task force. Does this mean that the risk still remains there, that we could lose more professional, well-trained police officers to private security companies?
Definitely, the risk still remains. Most of them are flying into the private sector because they're getting better wages and better offers, whilst in government wages and benefits have been frozen for quite some time now, and of course with the continued rise in the cost of living, so a lot of our members are not happy. And of course we have noted that the staff complement has definitely been on a decline, despite the fact that on a year-to-year basis there are recruitment of about 10,000 new officers. We also have at the same time about 7,000 officers who are within the ranks resigning due to all this variety of challenges, and some of them of course had to go to the private sector. So all in all, when we say that there's been an increase of, let's say, 10,000 officers, in reality there would have been an increase of less than 3,000, because a majority of them continue to be affected by all these challenges. Police killings, resignations, natural attrition, a number of challenges that are currently faced.
Okay, so what's the next step for Pop Crew? You said that you had an intention to march. Is that still going ahead? When is that happening?
Look, that is a matter for discussion within our ranks. I think that is one of the things which we have not abandoned since our last march in 2022. And of course, we will be engaging with our structures. We luckily have got constitutional meetings that are coming up in the next weeks and months. So those will be the discussions around what path to take.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Pop Crew spokesperson there, Richard Mamambulo. Go and answer that phone. Sometimes what happens is that when you're on air, you'll get a call from somebody to say that I can hear you on the radio, but I'm on air. So I think it could be one of those moments when somebody calls, hey, Richard, 0614 104 107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
Hello, Adrian. Farewell, ngwanaka. We hope we hope to see you, to listen to you somewhere else on the music. Thank you so much for your time. A very happy person. Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Aldrin, I'm listening to this guy. It's Shanghai, I think. I'm not sure. What? Yini wahamba manje Altarini yini kwenzenjani ngempela why now you living, because we enjoy your show, very good man, angazi kahle kodwa ngizwile lo mfana lomntwana ekhuluma lapha ukuthi sizakumisa into njengaleyo yini angizwanga phela mina Altarini ngiqala ukuzwa manje. Uyahamba manje ngoba mina ngilapha phesheya ngilalela umsakazo wakho lapha makuthiwa nje lapha ngibhorekile umlungu kade ngisemsebenzini ngidlala umculo wakho ngidlala umsakazo wakho lapha nguzwe usakaza manje uyahamba mfowethu.
If you've just joined us a bit earlier on today, I made the announcement that I will be leaving Beyond the Headline and also will be leaving SAFM. It's a decision that was very difficult to take. So basically that is it. I am leaving the station and I'm leaving the show, of course. But once again, thank you to all of the listeners that have built this amazing, brilliant show that is so dynamic, to all of our women listeners as well. By the way, when I joined, one of our mandates was to try and increase our women participation and women listenership on the station. And this particular show, Beyond the Headline, has done extremely well on that front. So thank you so much to the women as well who have been engaging with us on this platform. I know how difficult it is to dial into a radio station, to have difficult conversations, because chances are on the other end you're going to find Aldrin and he's going to say, where did you get that information from? What do you base that information from? And like Tommy knows, you must pendula umbuzo, Tommy, you must pendula umbuzo. So my journey with the station has come to an end. I will be leaving on Friday. So Friday is going to be my last day here on Beyond the Headline. And that is when the airline closes down and the flights are grounded.
Thanks, Aldrin. Very good afternoon with the news headlines. Analysts say that the ANC's candidate list, which consists of members who were implicated in the Zondo Commission, reflects negatively on the party's stance on corruption. President Cyril Ramaphosa says South Africa is endowed with a rich, sustainable biodiversity that contributes to urban economies. And the Turkish Interior Minister says 147 people suspected of links to the militant group Islamic State have been detained in a series of simultaneous raids. And those are your headlines. A full news update at 6.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Sunninghill has a crash before Rivonia Road exit. The R21 southbound in Kempton Park has a stationary vehicle just before the R23 Benoni exit. The N1 northbound in Midrand has a stationary truck after Allendale Road exit. And the N1 northbound in Pretoria has a crash reported before the N4 Witbank Highway. In KZN, the M7 is queuing at Bel Air Wakesley Road Junction. The N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The N3 has roadworks with major upgrade works between Spaghetti Junction and the M13 Paradise Valley interchange, and Chris Hani Road westbound is queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the R300 westbound in Mitchells Plain is queuing towards Stock Road exit. Marine Drive outbound in Tableview is slow moving towards Blaauberg Road. Lesbiek Parkway southbound in Observatory is queuing towards the N2 highway, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
In your sports, Bafana goalkeeper Ronan Williams says that the team has grown in stature under the leadership of head coach Hugo Bruce, and they no longer see themselves as underdogs. South Africa face Algeria tonight in an international friendly, and both sides will be using the game to prepare for their 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Kickoff is at 11 p.m.
Everybody has to know that those games, international games, are 1 or 2 levels higher than PSL, and that it's not so easy to score. But at the other end, we have to see also and to look also that for the moment there are 3 strikers who are not there. Magopa is not there, Motiba is not there, and Foster is not there.
Elsewhere, Declan Rice says that he's looking forward to captain England on his 50th appearance in tonight's friendly against Belgium at Wembley. The 25-year-old has become a key figure for the Three Lions since making his debut back in 2019, and he takes that captain's armband with Harry Kane and Kyle Walker out injured.
Yeah, look, it's speechless, to be honest with you. I'm absolutely lost for words. I think when he said to me last night I was going to be captain, I gave him a hug, shook his hand and said, thank you very much. I owe him a lot since I've first come into the team. He's always made me feel at home. I've always felt so comfortable playing under him, and like I said, I've really grown in confidence. So on my 50th cap to walk out of Wembley in front of my family, my friends, it's an absolute honour. I think you can see it by my face. A bit speechless, to be honest with you.
On to rugby, there's a change of guard at the helm of Western Province Rugby. Johan Leroux has been appointed as Chief Executive Officer and John Dobson as the Director of Rugby. Leroux will be assisted by seasoned administrator Rob Wagner, who has been brought in for an interim period to assist with operational aspects of the business, while Dobson's new position as Director of Rugby will not change his role within the senior team, but rather see him play a more crucial role in contracting and the development of talent through the junior structures. In cricket, the Test match in the 2025 Women's Ashes in Australia will be a day-night game at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It will return to a 4-day match after it was extended to 5 days during the 2023 series in England. Now, the pink ball game, which starts on the 30th of January, will also end the multi-format series for the first time since it was introduced in 2015. 2015. The multi-format Ashes will also consist of 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20s, each worth 2 points, while the Test is worth 4 points. The ODIs will start the series from the 12th of January before the T20s begin on the 20th of January. Ending things off with boxing news, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Zizi Godwa, is expected to announce the new process to be followed in appointing yet another new Boxing South Africa board. Now, the National Professional Boxing Promoters Association had taken Godwa, BSA, and the new board to court in December, citing a lack of consultation before the board was appointed. With that said, it is a wrap from my side for SAFM Sport. Aldrin
Sampear.
Why the people in life running after money?
Just a quick one, Colonel. So if I get on the scene and there's money that's floating around and I take that money, am I guilty of a crime? Or am I committing a crime?
Yes, you are committing a crime. That's not your money.
And it's just floating in the air.
It is not your money, Aldrin. It's supposed to be part of the money that was going wherever it was going or being taken back to the depot.
What happens if it floats into my car and I'm driving a convertible?
It's still not your money. As a law-abiding citizen, you should take it back to the country.
It's wrong to assume that everybody's running after money. It is just that.
Hashtag SAFM BTH.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And it is time for a MoneyWeb market update with Jimmy Moyaha. Jimmy, good evening. Welcome to the show. So looking at EOH results, and I think that me leaving the station didn't cause the rand to crash.
No, it did. It did, Aldrin. It did. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. No, I'm crushed that you're leaving, but I know that it's probably for the best, and wish you all of the very, very best wherever you are headed. No doubt you'll make an impact as you did on this show as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We'll have a farewell party. We must have a farewell. We must go for farewell drinks or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. Bring bitcoins with you.
At this point, we need to, right? At this point, someone like EOH should invest in bitcoins, because if you look at the performance of the company, profits were down more than 1,000%, and I'm going to speak to the outgoing CEO Stephen van Coller around that and try and make sense of what's happening there. We thought EOH was on the right track for turning the business around. Last year they were, I think the net loss at the end of the last financial year was about 5 million rand. Now it's swung back to 99 million rand. So definitely lots to dig into there. We're also going to dig into a conversation with Bank of America Merrill Lynch around the latest fund managers survey, showing that fund managers in South Africa are still bullish on the equities in South Africa, which is a good thing because equities did have a good day on the markets today. And then we've got another conversation with Paul Makube of FNB Commercial around the state of the agri-business confidence sector. The agri-business confidence index for Q1 came out today, so that's our agri-focus for today that we're going to look at. And we're also going to take a look at some developments from the CISA stable. They paid out, or life insurers paid out 599 billion rand in claims and benefits for the 2023 year. So that's quite a hefty sum to look at, and we're going to see where all that money went and how all of that unfolded. But as you rightly mentioned, the rand, following what happened with your announcement, clearly the rand was upset about that against all the major fronts. 18.99 against the dollar, losing almost a full percent, so losing 0.75% there. At 23.99, so 24 rand against the pound, losing 2/3% there, and 20 rand and 58 cents against the euro, losing the same amount against the euro and the pound there, and even losing ground against the Australian dollar, sitting at 12 rand and 41 cents there against an Australian dollar. So definitely not a good day for the rand. Bitcoin, as you alluded to, is near that $70,000 a coin mark, sitting at 69,869 or so. In terms of the commodities, gold still can't get to that 2,200 level. I'm sure it'll get there at some point, but for now, It's sitting at $2,176 an ounce, with Brent crude sitting at $86.38 a barrel. Definitely not looking good for fuel price increases in April. Platinum and palladium also holding steady. Platinum having a better day than palladium. Palladium sitting at $1,003 an ounce there, with platinum at $919, up about 1.3% there. As I said, some of the equities had a good day. The all share was up 0.4%, with the top 40 up 0.5%, resources down 0.5%, but industrials up 1.3% and financials up 0.2%. So that offset the losses on the resources side. If we look at some of the movements throughout the day, the likes of AO Technologies down as well. Obviously, that stock trading at very low levels at this point, so a movement there would be a significant movement. We see that the likes of Raubex are in the red as well. Transaction Capital in the red, Kumba in the red as well there, and African Rainbow Minerals and Zeda also in the red. Zeda down about 2.2% on today's trade. Naspers up 3.5% for today. Cashbuild up 4.3% today. Brimstone RCL up 4.5% each there. Karoo up as well 4.8%. Clientele up as well from a business perspective. So some companies, mainly on the industrial side, having better days, and we're going to dig into these when we look at our show a little later on. I'm particularly going to be looking at the likes of ArcelorMittal and Implats that have had quite a difficult time trying to find some momentum. So we're going to see what we make of the developments around the world. We've got our MPC meeting tomorrow, so perhaps we'll look into that as well. We know that we're not expecting a rate cut per se, but that could be something interesting to look forward to when we have our show. But for now, Aldrin, back to you and the team. Possibly for the final time.
No, not for the final time. My last day is on Friday.
There we go.
Okay.
So we'll speak this week.
Yeah, we still have at least 2 days with you. But I know that... Are you on Friday?
Yeah, we have our crossing on Friday.
Oh, okay. Because Friday is Good Friday, so I'm not too sure.
Oh, yes. It is a holiday. The markets will be closed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Jimmy Moyaha is back again just after 6 o'clock. We're taking your calls on 086 000 2032 and your voice notes on 0614 104 1807. You can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear. And again, our studio line 086 000 2032.
Hashtag SAFMBTH.
Aldrin, how can you abandon us like that? Shoo! So you are leaving us, Captain, my Captain. Oh, Captain.
Yeah.
Who is going to steer our plane? The BTH plane. Shoo! I guess greener pastures are calling, hey? All of the best, Aldrin. All of the best, Papi. All of the best.
Thank you.
You are such a good presenter. You are so good. Yo, Aldrin, we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
I'm
I'm going to miss
missing
you too.
already. Show all of the best.
I'm going to miss you too.
May whatever you touch turn into gold, Papi. All of the best. We love you. We love you, Aldrin.
And I love the love. Thank you, Nare. Thank you.
Ay khona. Aldrin is leaving. It's the same as stage 6, man. Aldrin is leaving. Where's this guy? Icona guy. Stage 6. Hey, man. Hey, Aldrin, it's so sad that you're leaving, man. This is Menzi from KZN.
Thank you so much, Menzi.
We just want to thank you for being the person that you are. You've been to us. You made us be glued to our radios whenever your show was on, man. Yeah, I'm a young fellow who's you come to love. I've come to love talk radio just because of you. So thank you, man.
Please recruit more people. Please recruit more people to listen to talk radio. It's very important. I'm looking at some of the comments on YouTube. Vusim Kabela saying that Aldrin you sort of poached me from Radio 2000. I had to ditch Glenn Lewis for your show. Now I have to go and beg for love back from the teddy bear of the airways after so long. Wes, I have to break the news to my little daughter that we will no longer be hearing you on the radio when I pick her up from aftercare. And Vusi, those are the moments that I really appreciate. I didn't even foresee something like that would happen, where you find that children are actually enjoying the show as well, as I shared a bit earlier on as well. So I do appreciate the parents as well that are introducing their children to talk radio. Very, very important. Spewer says that farewell, the Aldrin Sampear. You took the show from most talented Tepiso Makwetla and you made it your own. We shall miss your sense of humor. What if the money flies into my car? And then on Facebook, these are the comments on Facebook. By the way, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X. Dabishi saying that the BTH team, Aldrin, thanks for your effort. For the first time in my life to hear my own voice on radio that was from your show. Good luck, continue to do good wherever you are going. Thank you so much. Nomtle says that I followed you from Power FM and I guess I'll be following you again. Wishing you all the best. Chantal, good luck to the future, Aldrin. We might have different opinions on certain things, but you are still one hang of a journalist. Truly appreciate that. And Christelle saying that Aldrin, I'm so sad that you are leaving the BTH team. I love listening to you and your team on my way home in the afternoon in Mossel Bay area. Your contribution was invaluable and you will leave a big hole. Mooi loop, Aldrin. Baie dankie, Christel. Let's go to the Eastern Cape. Bulelani, good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Aldrin. How are you?
I'm well, Bulelani. How are you doing?
The good evening is not so good, Baba.
Yeah, I know.
My day was good until some few minutes after 4 when we just dropped the bomb. Then my day started changing. But anyway, in that there is nothing we can do. We are all here for personal development in that way.
I appreciate it. And thank you so much for the support, Bulelani. Thank you so much for your contribution as well.
Just like the caller who said, I was listening to one of your sister radio stations, but you stole me from it.
Oh, we did a good job. We did a good job.
I just opened in closing with Aldrin, and on Friday,
yeah,
your program managers and editors, they are listening with the last hour of the show. It's just about you, nothing else. The last hour of the show can just be about you withdrawing whatever message is not supposed to throw in. Congratulations and everything.
Okay, we'll put it to the team and see what the team says. We'll throw it to the team and see what they say. We'll see what they say. And thank you for the call, Bulelani from the Eastern Cape, and thank you for the well wishes as well. Kandisa is joining us from Matlosana. Good evening.
Evening, Aldrin. How are you?
I'm well, Kandisa. How are you doing?
No, man, Aldrin, it's the first moment, man, when you leave. But I'll remember you, and your child here. That clip of who is this?
My name is.
My name is Aldrin Sampear. But I think Aldrin Mbalula has listened that you are going. Maybe you will go and join ANC so that you must be part of the candidate.
Kandisa, when as an ANC member, do you see me fit in the ANC? Do you see me?
No, we need people there like you.
Yeah.
People. But Aldrin, I want to talk about the issue of this list. Have you seen it?
Which list?
The list of ANC.
Yeah, remember that the ANC was actually one of the first political parties to make their list public, even before the IEC has made it public.
It's not the right platform that I'm going to raise this, but I want to raise it now because I raised it to the provincial secretary. If you can check those lists, there are people who have been in government for so long, Aldrin. You ask yourself, if they fail to deliver water and give other people services, they return again what they are going to do there.
As an ANC member, what do you then do, Kandisa?
Branches of ANC, because we gave people names that these people can assist ANC, but those people are not appearing anywhere. You see people who are in PECs, regions, who are in national only. People who are coming from branches of ANC that are not there.
Yeah, but I think also, Candice, the issue there for me is also that I believe that there needs to be a change in how you understand local government, as an example, because the ANC is using the same template that they use for its internal hierarchy structure, that somebody who comes from, let's say, that comes from a region is considered to be junior to a person who is who's in the NEC, as an example. However, though, the person who's in the region is a person who is also working in government, and you need the most talented people in local government, I believe, personally.
Yes, it's only people who have been there, who have been. You know what why I'm worried, Aldrin? You see, we have to give our people service deliver.
Yeah.
And when you rotate only one people because they are friends of other people there, it's not right, Aldrin. We as branches, we took a mandate and said, we want these people. Even, I can tell you, I can give you 15 or 20 of people who said, these people are capable to lead in the province and in national.
But they didn't make it. So let's see how you guys are going to raise this, and if your calls will be heeded. But we know that every time that there is this list process, even within the ANC itself, there is a contention over it. Let's quickly go to Sharma, who's joining us from Durban. Good evening.
Good afternoon, Aldrin. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm not well at all.
Oh.
I will miss you, my friend.
I'll miss you guys.
I listen to you every day between 3 and 6 o'clock on SAFM. I never miss a program because I appreciate you. I haven't seen a guy that's humble and a guy that's so cool that never lost your nerve. At every time people throw rocks and stones and bricks at you, but still just pass it off. You know, I marvel at you. I admire you, and I really miss you. And I tell you something, we learned a lot from you, Aldrin. I have learned a lot from you, and I'll never forget you. For what I made a lot of calls to you, a lot of occasions, and whenever I had an issue, maybe you're there to respond to my request. Whenever a problem, something, you're there quick to call and tell me, Shama, this is that. Maybe you forget, you got so many callers to worry about, and I tell you, it's not political to talk about that. I'm talking about the fact. We will miss you. I'm not usually come on the show, but we all appreciate what we will learn and experienced and taught from you being a simple man. I wish you all the best. I wish you God's speed. I wish you God's abundant blessing upon you and your family. And I want you to go well. And we will hear from you again and see how you're doing time to time. And remember one thing, we love you and appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shama. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to all of the listeners who choose us every afternoon between 3 and 6 and who have made us the biggest drive time talk radio show in the country. That for me is the milestone. That for me is the milestone. So thank you so much. 0614-104-107. And you can also drop me an X at Aldrin Sampear.
Buying a new TV? You'll need a paid-up TV license. Need to check your balance? No sweat at all. You just SMS your ID or TV license account number to 44210 for fast, effective balance inquiries. Secure your legal viewing fast and simple. Standard SMS rates will be charged. Terms and conditions apply. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Yanga have a massive mission to dish out orders in Dar es Salaam against 2016 champions. However, Masandawana believe in their ability to succeed anywhere on African soil. This is the first leg quarter-final encounter of the CAF Champions League. Witness Africa's beautiful game. Young Africans versus Mamelodi Sundowns on Saturday 30 March at 8 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
You are listening to Aldrin Sampear on SAFM.
I will miss that 10 past 4 feature. Ba 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 indlu yawo.
I don't miss that feature. It's right here from East London, Eastern Cape.
Sometimes people would stop me and tell me about that particular, what do we call it? Is it a promo? Is it a sting? What is it? Sting. It's a sting. Okay. Tell me about that sting and how much they enjoy listening to it. And sometimes they even wait for 4:10. Literally, wait for it. Like, it's coming. It's 4:10 now. It's coming any moment from now. And some even record it and then share it with me when I meet them in the streets. Godindawo.
Have to go and beg for love.
Aldrin, Aldrin Sampear. Aldrin, men, I don't believe what you are living. That's April Fool, my man. That's April Fool. And you owe me. Comes Monday, I will remind you, Aldrin Sampear. You ain't going nowhere.
There are no more Mondays for me.
Anyway, good luck wherever you're going to, if you are. But I don't believe it. Aldrin Sampear.
Injalo. No, injalo, indeed, I'm saying goodbye. So thank you once again to all of the listeners that have made my time here incredible. It was difficult, I have to say, also at the beginning. Because you need to get used to the audience, and the audience needs to get used to you, and then you want to come up with new ideas, which are quite disruptive, and it's a bit difficult to adjust to the changes. But thank you to everyone who has stayed with me from day one. The ones who left and then came back as well, we really appreciate you. And maybe there are those who have left and never to come back. Hopefully at some point they do come back. We've come to the end of our voyage. Thank you so much for choosing Flight SAFM BTH 326 with me, Aldrin Sampear. Today we're playing out with the Black Motion featuring Miss P, It's You. And our parting shot is from Marion Williamson, who once said, "On any given day, in any given moment, something could happen that opens up for you an entirely new path. Be still, be alert, be ready." And Mkhwesi is reading our credits this evening.
Dumelang bareti, ke Morwesi Triselda mo Bokone Bophirima. Ke rata go leboga setegeniki sa rona mo sefofaneng sa rona sa 326. Ke lebisa ditebogo tsotlhe go Khanya, Themba, Tumi, Phineas, Charles, Vusi, le mofofisi wa rona, Captain Aldrin Sampear. Re lebogetse tshegetso ya lona le theetso ya lona mo tsatsing la gompieno. Re lebogile go menagane.
Aldrin Sampear on Beyond the Headline.
Mufufi wa leboha. Remember to love each other and lead with compassion. Dotsins, enjoy the rest of your evening. We still have about 3 days together. 3 days together. Dotsins.